Hey YouTube, this is Half64 here, coming to you with another deck profile. I haven't posted a video in a while because I haven't done anything of note. I got my invited regionals, but I didn't get top 8, so I didn't feel like doing a follow-up video on that. And I had a pretty humiliating failure at YCS Seattle, so my UDO record hasn't really been video-worthy. Today I'm coming to you with Prophecies. It's a really fun deck, and it has a lot of power. I topped my most recent locals with it after testing it for a few weeks, and I found a build that I think is really successful. I'll go over the deck and why I chose some of the Prophecy monsters over others, and the same with Spellbooks. And then I'll go over some main combos it can pull off. The monster count for the build is 14. It's very low because of the high number of Spellbook cards that you have to play. First off is 3 High Priestess of Prophecy. High Priestess is the main powerhouse of the deck. You summon it by revealing 3 Spellbooks in your hand, which is an effect, so it's immune to Thunder King. Thunder King is a really big problem for this deck as it searches a lot. While on the field, once per turn, you can banish a Spellbook from your hand or graveyard to destroy a card on the field. She's very easy to summon. Spellbooks are very easy to accumulate in the hand, and she's also summonable by another monster in the deck, Temperance of Prophecy. Apply 2 of this card, and her effect is that during your main phase, if you've activated a Spellbook that turn, you can tribute her to special summon a level 5 or higher, light or dark spellcaster type monster from your deck. But you can't summon another level 5 or higher monster that turn. The other way to get High Priestess out is by Justice of Prophecy. I also play 2 of this card. She's an extremely powerful card. During the end phase of a turn, when you activate a Spellbook card, you can banish her to add a level 5 or higher light or dark spellcaster and a Spellbook card from your deck to your hand. She's an obvious +1, and she really helps to set up the High Priestess hand effect. The last Prophecy monsters that I play are 2 Spellbook Magicians. When Magician is normal summoned, or flips face up, you can add a Spellbook from your deck to your hand. It's a good way to thin out the deck, and even though it's very small, it only has 500 attack, it can grab out any Spellbook, and it also combos with a couple other cards on the deck, which I'll show you when I get to them. The non-Prophecy monsters that I play are 3 Breakers and 2 Effect Veilers. This deck plays a lot of spells, and sacrifices room for monsters and traps because of it, so in order to add balance, I only play the Breakers and don't play MSTs. Breaker offers other advantages though. He's a comboable with a lot of the spellbooks, and he also clears the way for High Priestess, since he will either pop a back row or force your opponent to waste normal summon stopper on him. I play the Veilers not just because it's a first turn response to something, but because it's a spellcaster, and a few of the spellbooks benefit from having a low level spellcaster in the deck or grave. The spell count is very high, 17, and 11 of them are Spellbooks. Excuse me. The most important one is Spellbook of Secrets. You can search out any Spellbook except itself, and you can only play 1 per turn. It's got obvious benefits. It can search out 8 other cards in 8 other spells in the deck. And I can also search out Spellbook Magician, because it only says Spellbook cards, not Spellbook spell cards. I play 2 Spellbook of Power. This card is extremely useful. It boosts the attack of a spellcaster by 1,000, and if that monster destroys a monster by battle, you can search out another Spellbook except for Power and add it to your hand, and you can only play 1 per turn. Power has a very useful niche in that you can summon a Justice or Temperance, play Power, attack over a problem monster like TK, and then search for another Spellbook, then activate Temperance or Justice's effect. I used to play 3 of this card. The only reason I'm not is I dumped it for another tech card I want to try out that I'll show you when I get to. I play 2 Spellbook of Wisdom. It's basically a lance for spellcasters without the attack change, but it only does spells with traps. It's very useful for the High Priestess drop, revealing 3 spellbooks, and then when they try to Bottomless or Torrential, you chain the Wisdom. I only play 1 of the next 4 spellbooks because they are a lot more situational than the others. 1 Grand Spellbook Tower if there's a spellcaster on the field or in the grave. Spellbook Tower allows me to return a spellbook in my grave to the bottom of my deck during my standby phase and draw a card. And if it's destroyed by an opponent's card effect, you can special a spellcaster whose level is equal to or less than the number of spellbooks in grave. I only play 1 since it's searchable by secrets and power. It easily misses its timing on special summoning if it's MST'd while trying to activate its effect. And there's not a lot of good targets for it if there's less than 3. Because this card regulates the number of spellbooks in your graveyard so easily, I find a hard time keeping a high number of spellbooks in the graveyard. So its special summoning effect is not as useful. The most powerful use of the card is in getting that +1 during your standby phase. 1 Spellbook of Fate. It's a quick play that if you have a face-up spellcaster on your side of the field, you can remove 1 spellbook in the graveyard to return a set spell trap to the field. 2 spellbooks to change a monster on the field to face-down defense or face-up attack position, or 3 to banish 1 card on the field. Its first effect is not that useful, but it has a few situations. And its second effect is pretty useful, but it pales in comparison to the third, which is the primary reason to use it. Because of that, and because of how easily the graveyard is regulated because of Spellbook Tower, getting this third effect off can be a bit difficult, so I only play the 1 and search it out with Secrets or Power when I need it. 1 Spellbook of Life. By revealing a spellbook in hand and banishing a spellcaster in grave, special summon a spellcaster from the grave, equip it with life, and increase the level of the monster by the level of the removed monster. It's a pretty easy reborn to play, but it does have a number of conditions, so I only play the 1 because I can search it out with Secrets or Power. The last spellbook I play is Spellbook of Eternity. It adds a remove from play spellbook to your hand. I usually only grab this card once while I'm in a situation to cycle it, or if I'm in desperate need for a remove card, so I only use the 1. There's a very powerful combo with this card, using High Priestess, Spellbook Tower, and Spellbook of Secrets. You summon Priestess, play Secrets into Eternity, excuse me, banish Secrets to pop a card on the field with High Priestess effect, then use Eternity to add Secrets back to your hand. Then during your next standby phase, use Tower to recycle Eternity, and then you can play Secrets to grab Eternity again. It creates an infinite popping loop once per turn, and it's very useful. As for non-spellbook spell cards, I play 1 Magical Dimension. It's very useful, especially with Spellbook Magician and Breaker, because you can chain it to something that would interfere with the summon or effect of the monster, and then you can drop a spellcaster from the hands and then pop a monster on their side of the field. I play 2 Dualities to get my monsters more consistently, since I only play 14. And then Staples, Reborn, Darkhold, and Heavy Storm. Like I said, I only don't play any MSTs to play Breakers to keep my monster count higher. I play 9 traps in the deck. There are builds of the deck that don't play any traps and then increase the monster and spell count, allowing them to play more Spellbook of Fate, Life, Tower, and Eternity. I found that because the deck cannot spam monsters onto the field as easily or as fast as decks like Light Swarms, Chaos Dragons, or Mermails, that if it goes up against those decks without any traps, it stands little to no chance. Because of that, I play what I think are the most important traps to play. Solemns, 2 Torrentials, 2 Deep Prisons, and 2 Bottomless. The extra deck is almost completely useless. This deck almost never exceeds or synchros. The only important exceeds, as of right now, are Bidai and Hierophant of Prophecy. Both rank 7s that can be dropped from 2 High Priestesses. Hierophant detaches a material once per turn to destroy a number of monsters your opponent controls up to the number of spellbook cards in the graveyard. There are a few cards in the side deck for this build that I think need to be mentioned. Rivalry is Rivalry is an obvious choice since they are all spellcasters, including Bidai. Decree is an easy and useful side. Dimensional Fissure is an easy side since the deck does not need monsters in the grave. The only cards that get hurt are Effect Failure, Monster Reborn, and Spellbook of Life. So they can be sided out. MSTs are necessary for the decks that need back row hate that can be chained, which Breaker can do. Kaikus are really useful since they benefit from all the spellbooks and they help regulate an opponent's graveyard. They're extremely useful against agents and chaos dragons, in my opinion. One card that I think is an interesting card to side is a second Spellbook of Eternity against Macro Rabbit. Since Macro Cosmos removes your spells and you need spells in the graveyard primarily. It allows you to get back the most useful spellbooks in the case that they're all getting removed by your opponent's Macrocosmos. The two most prominent prophecy monsters that I don't play are Stoic of Prophecy and Prophecy Destroyer. Stoic adds a level 3 prophecy monster from the deck to the hand when it's sent from anywhere to the grave, and Destroyer can remove 3 spellbooks from the grave to special itself from the grave. I think the only way that Stoic is good is in a Foolish build, and that requires Prophecy Destroyer, who I personally think is garbage. He is totally useless in the hand and requires you to waste resources to summon him, so I don't use those two. That's it for the deck. I'd like to give a couple shoutouts to my friend Trey. He's a friend of mine who's setting up a channel for all Colorado Springs related Yu-Gi-Oh! There's a link on my channel if anyone's interested. I'd also like to give a shout out to Adrian Chantier. He's a member of the Colorado Springs Yu-Gi-Oh! Community. You've probably heard of him. He got 5th at Nationals and placed 3rd at YCS Seattle. Finally, I'd like to give a shout out to my friend Donald Gonzales. He's the guy who was running Helios and Macro Rabbit at Seattle. A lot of people were talking about him there, so I wanted to give a name to the face. He's a member of the Colorado Springs Yu-Gi-Oh! Community. He has his own channel, which is linked on my YouTube page, and has some videos on Trey Lee's page. That's all for now. I'll post another video near the next regionals or YCS. Thanks for watching. Try to rate, comment, and subscribe if you can, and I'll catch you all later.